Okay, so to wrap up this chapter on chords, let's talk a little bit about seventh chords. All right, we're not going to talk about all the kinds of seventh chords, but we're going to talk about a couple kinds. So we can form what are called seventh chords by adding another third to a triad. So let's look at the example here we have on slide 29. Looks like we have a G major triad, right? G, B, D, and then they've added a third above D, which would be F. And that is going to be a seventh chord, right? Why are they calling it a seventh, by the way? What do you think? So we have our roots, third, fifth, and then we have our seventh on top here, on the very top. Why are they calling that a seventh? Well, think back to scales, right? This is actually the seventh scale degree of this scale. If we went from G to G, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're calling that a seventh, okay? So see if you can play that. Your a G major triad, right? G, B, D, with the seventh. You can think of it as, oh, it's really a minor seventh above the roots, or you could think of it as a third above the fifth. Okay, so there's a couple ways there. Let's move on to the next slide, number 30. So, although a number of different seventh chord qualities occur in music, right now, in this chapter, we're just going to concentrate on two types. Okay, we're going to concentrate on one type where we have a major triad, which is what we just did, our major triad, with a minor seventh interval on top, right? And when I say, again, minor seventh, I mean a minor seventh above the root, right? That's a minor seventh interval. So a major triad, in this case, we did a G major triad with a minor seventh added on top. So that's one type. Another type is going to be basically that same thing we just did, but we're going to do a minor triad instead. So how about instead of a G major triad, we'll do a G minor triad, meaning we'll take the third and bring it down a half step and make that. Right, so now we have what? G, B flat, D, F, right? Okay. All right. So just remember, so we'll do major triad with a minor seventh or a minor triad with a minor seventh, okay? There's only one note difference, has to do with the third of the chord, okay? By the way, seventh chords are not triads, right? We can talk about it as triad with a seventh, but what I'm playing right now, this seventh chord, not a triad anymore, because now there aren't just three tones, right? There are four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So remember, seventh chords are not triads. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the dominant seventh chord, okay? So the dominant seventh chord is the first one we did, where we have a major triad and a minor seventh on top, okay? See if you can play that. You've got G, B, D, and then an F on top. All right, it's a major triad with a minor seventh on top. That is a dominant seventh chord, okay? Memorize that. Major triad with a minor seventh interval from the root, right? Major triad, minor seventh, put it together, dominant seventh chord, okay? Now, with popular music symbols, we will write this as So we'll have the name of the root, right? In this case, what's the root of the triad? It's G, and then we're just going to add a 7, so we'll call it G7. So in popular music chord symbols, just called G with a superscript or a small 7 to the right of the root name, right? If here's another dominant 7th chord. If I play a C dominant 7, right? C, E, G, B flat, then I would write it as C7, right? Okay, so let's move on now to the minor 7th chord. So the minor 7th chord is the other one that we talked about earlier, right? If we take our G dominant 7 chord and we just lower the 3rd, now it would be a G minor 7 chord, right? So it's really a minor triad with that minor 7th interval on top, right? Okay. On slide 32 here, they give us a different one though. They have written, it looks like, okay, let's take D minor triad, right? Again, that's D, F, A, and then add our minor 7th above it, right? What's a minor 7th above D? It's C, right? Think back to your D major scale, right? What's the major 7th? You have to think of your key signature, right, for D major. What's the key signature for D major? 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. If we play our D major scale, we go D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, okay? And so what's my 7th? It's C sharp. So if I make that into C natural, regular C, now that's my minor 7th, okay? So that's where I'm getting this minor 7th idea here. So again, for the minor 7th chord, I have my D minor triad, and I have my minor 7th on top of that. I put it together. Now it's a D minor 7 chord. Now, with popular music symbols, we're going to go D minor, like we did before, D with a lowercase m next to it. And then we're going to put the small 7 to the right of the lowercase m, right? So we'll call that our D minor 7 chord. Okay, let's practice identifying some of these now with popular music chord symbols. So in this example here on slide 33, which is also in your book on page 177, top of 177, these are all going to be either a dominant 7th chord or a minor 7th chord. The book also, in reference to the dominant 7th chord, remember the one with the major triad and the minor 7th interval, they call it a major minor chord. So sometimes you'll hear it as a major minor chord, but most commonly we just call it a dominant 7th chord, and that's how I usually refer to it here. So let's look at the first one, the first example here. It looks like the one we did on the last slide, actually. So first of all, the best thing to do would be to just play all of the notes that we see. So what do we see here? We see, by the way, all of these are going to be root position as well. So don't worry about inversions or expanded. These are all sort of the simple root position versions here. So what's my root here? My lowest note is D. Then above that I have F. Then above that I have A. Then above that I have C. Now I can already hear it's a minor 7 quality, right? It's not dominant 7, right? Because dominant 7 would be like that. But this is D, F, A, C. Okay? So how do we determine if this is minor 7 or dominant 7? Well, it really comes down to the 3rd, right? It comes down to the root-3rd relationship, right? If my 3rd is a minor 3rd, then it's going to be a minor 7th chord here in this example on slide 33. Now, if I have a major 3rd between the root and the 3rd, that's going to be my dominant 7, okay? So this one, though, on the first one on slide 33, it looks, it's a minor third, right? Because D to F is a minor third. So therefore, this one is D minor 7. So what you would write here is uppercase D followed by lowercase m to indicate minor, followed by a superscript 7 to the right of the M, right? Just like we see it on the last slide for D minor 7 on slide 32, and we also see it on page 176 in your book, figure 9.21. Let's do one more. Let's do the next one here. So first of all, just play the notes if you can, if you have your keyboard. Go, okay, we have 4 pitches here. The lowest one is F, and then the next one, the third, is going to be A, and then the 5th is C, and then the 7th is E flat, right? So we have that. Now I can already hear, it sounds like it's dominant 7, right? Because it just sounds like it. If it were this, then I could, right, that's minor 7, but here, that sounds like dominant 7. What makes it dominant 7 though, right? So think about, again, to just make it easy for yourself, think about the root third relationship. What's the root third relationship? It's here's my root, here's my third. Is that a major third or is it a minor third? If it's a major third, that's going to make this a dominant 7 chord. If it's a minor third, which it's not, it's going to make it a minor 7 chord, okay? But in this case, it's F to A. And if you're still not sure, think back to your F major scale, right? 1 flat in that scale. So you have your F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. What's the third in that scale? F, G, A, 1, 2, 3. So that is a major third. And in this chord here we have on slide 33 with F, A, C, E flat, it's a dominant 7th because that major third. If we had F, A flat, C, E flat, then it would be minor 7 rather than dominant 7, okay? So in this case, you would write for the answer uppercase F because that's the root, and then you'd write a 7, a small 7 next to it, right? Because that's how we write our dominant 7 chords. So go through each of these. You could pause this video, go through each of these, write them out, or write the popular music chord symbol, and then come back to the video. Okay, so lastly here in this chapter, let's look at America the Beautiful. All right, this popular melody, America the Beautiful. So what we want to do here is spell, or in other words, write each of the chords on the staff below the melody, right? So we're going to be writing chords in the bass clef. We're going to be writing, for this, just write root position, either triads or 7th chords. And then play them on a keyboard. So the first 2 are done for you, right? We have, we see what's the melody. We have, oh, beautiful for spacious skies for. So for those, for the first couple measures here, they're done for you, right? Let's look at the first one, B flat, right? So they're really what you're being asked to do is just write a B flat major triad, right? So if you see B flat with no lowercase m or no 7, that just means B flat major triad, right? So then all you have to do is go, well, what's in a B flat major triad? So an easy way to do this is just think, okay, B flat major scale. What's the key signature for that? If you don't know, look at your circle of fifths, but I know because I have it memorized, 2 flats, B flat and E flat. Go ahead and play your B flat major scale. go B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Okay, and think, what's the root? It's B flat. What's the third? It's D, right? 1, 2, 3. And what's the fifth? It's F. So there's my B flat major triad. So you have B flat, D, F, and you write it in the bass clef here for America the Beautiful. All right, and then go through and write all the chords in. By the way, this is on page 177 in your book, so that should, it'll be easier to write there. Okay. And as always, I know some of this stuff can be confusing. Maybe I didn't explain it that well. For whatever reason, please reach out. I'm happy to help you in any case. Okay. Talk to you next time.